Okay, so get this.
Yeah.
We're going to dive into MicroStrategy
Oh, yeah.
and their Bitcoin strategy.
Absolutely.
I mean, this is
this is wild.
not just interesting.
Yeah.
It's like a financial thriller in real time.
It is. It is.
We're talking about a business software company,
right.
the kind that helps corporations crunch numbers.
Yeah, your typical, like, sort of,
Buttoned up.
the
Yeah.
guys in suits
Exactly.
that have decided to go all in on Bitcoin.
All in.
It's just crazy.
And the wild part is they're holding more Bitcoin than anyone else on the public market.
More than Coinbase.
More than Coinbase.
Yeah.
Coinbase is a crypto exchange. That's their whole thing.
That's what they do.
Right.
That's their bread and butter.
It's like finding out your accountant is secretly a high-stakes poker player.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So let's unpack this today.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Why is MicroStrategy making this gamble? How does it actually work?
Yeah.
What are the possible upsides and the very real risks?
Absolutely. And
there are a lot of risks.
spoiler alert, some of this stuff gets surprisingly complex.
Oh, yeah.
But don't worry.
We'll break it down.
We'll break it down together.
We'll figure it out.
And even experienced investors are scratching their heads at some of the moves.
Yeah, I mean, like,
MicroStrategy is making.
I consider myself
Right.
pretty knowledgeable.
Yeah.
In the crypto space.
Yeah.
And some of this stuff just has me baffled.
Yeah. Yeah. So first things first, like, the sheer scale of this bet is mind-blowing.
It really is.
They started buying Bitcoin back in August 2020 and haven't stopped.
Yeah.
They've racked up over 400,000 Bitcoins.
That's a lot of Bitcoin.
To put that in perspective,
All right.
if Bitcoin hits, say, $100,000, which it's been flirting with lately, their stash is worth over $38 billion.
I mean,
more than some countries' GDPs.
you're talking like real money here.
Real money.
Right.
And that's what makes this so different. Yeah.
This isn't some tech startup
Right.
with venture capital to burn.
Yeah.
MicroStrategy is supposed to be selling software,
Yeah.
not making billion-dollar bets on a volatile asset.
Exactly.
So to understand this,
Right.
we need to talk about Bitcoin yield.
Ah, yes.
And I want to be very clear.
Yeah.
That's MicroStrategy's term,
It is.
not ours.
They coined that phrase.
Yeah, it's where the financial engineering
Yeah.
gets interesting.
Yeah, they argue that they're creating value for shareholders
Okay.
by increasing the Bitcoin per share,
Okay.
even if it means diluting the stock.
Hold on. Dilution. For those of us who don't have MBAs,
Yeah, sure.
what does that even mean?
So essentially, when a company issues more stock,
Right.
each existing share represents a smaller ownership
Okay.
of the company.
Got it.
So that's dilution, right? And that's
So it's like cutting the pie into more slices.
exactly.
And your slice gets smaller.
It's often seen as a negative thing.
Right.
Because your ownership is decreasing.
So how does this Bitcoin yield magic trick work?
So they claim that this yield outweighs the dilution,
Okay.
making everyone richer in Bitcoin terms.
Mm-hmm.
They point to Q3 2023, for example.
Yeah.
Their Bitcoin holdings grew by 33%,
Okay.
but shares were only diluted by 13.2%.
So in theory, each share is worth more in Bitcoin terms.
Yeah, at least
Yeah.
that's what they're arguing.
But where's the money coming from for all this Bitcoin buying?
Right.
It sounds like they're just printing money out of thin air.
So not quite,
Okay.
but it is fascinating.
Okay.
They've got two main ways to fund these purchases:
Okay.
issuing debt
Okay.
and selling more stock.
So debt in this case means bonds.
Exactly, yeah.
So classic borrowing.
Just basic borrowing.
But isn't that risky?
Yeah.
Especially with something as volatile as Bitcoin,
It is, but remember, we're talking about billions of dollars here.
right?
And they just pulled off a $3 billion
Wow.
convertible note offering.
Convertible notes.
Yeah.
Those sound like something out of a Wall Street thriller.
They're a bit complex.
Okay.
Essentially, they're loans
Okay.
that can be converted into stock at a predetermined price.
Okay.
What's wild is this offering had zero interest,
Wow.
and the conversion price was way higher than the stock price at the time.
So why would anyone agree to that?
Right.
It doesn't make sense.
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
So some people are comparing it to a Ponzi scheme,
Okay.
saying MicroStrategy needs to keep attracting new investors to stay afloat.
Right.
But I think that's a bit of a simplification.
Okay, so why is it not a Ponzi scheme?
In a Ponzi scheme, early investors only get paid if new investors keep coming in.
Right.
There's no real value being created.
Oh,
But MicroStrategy's stock is publicly traded.
right.
Existing shareholders can sell their stock on the open market anytime.
So they don't need new investors to cash out.
Exactly.
Okay.
So new investors might help fuel their Bitcoin buying, but it's not essential for the whole thing to function.
Okay, so it's not like technically a Ponzi scheme,
It's not a classic Ponzi scheme.
but it's got some
Similarities. Yeah.
that are raising eyebrows.
Okay, then what is the end game here? What's Michael Saylor,
Right.
MicroStrategy's CEO,
Yeah.
really betting on?
So the core of it is
Okay.
he's betting against the US dollar.
Okay.
He's convinced that its purchasing power
Okay.
is going down the drain.
Thanks to inflation.
Inflation.
Right.
Okay, so he's trying to
He's trying to, yeah.
outsmart inflation
Exactly.
by stocking up on Bitcoin,
Yes.
which he sees as a scarce deflationary asset.
Correct.
It's like saying,
Yeah.
my dollars are going to be worth less tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I'd rather hold something that might hold its value better.
Exactly. Yeah.
And here's where it gets even more interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Some people are calling this an infinite money glyph.
Yeah, the infinite money.
They argue if the dollar keeps losing value,
Right.
MicroStrategy could just keep borrowing more
Yeah. Keep
or to
back.
buy more Bitcoin.
More and more Bitcoin.
Wait, so they'd use increasingly worthless dollars
Right.
to buy an asset that's, in theory,
Uh-huh.
appreciating.
That's the theory.
And that would drive up...
It would drive up Bitcoin price, boost their stock price,
Right.
and they could raise even more capital.
So it's just a
Self-perpetuating.
self-perpetuating cycle.
Yeah.
That's either genius or
Yeah.
completely insane.
It's one or the other, right?
Is this all
Yeah, it's hard to say.
some elaborate plan to make MicroStrategy
Mhm.
the Federal Reserve
Right.
of Bitcoin?
Now, that's an interesting comparison.
Right.
Right. So the Fed issues dollars.
Right.
Backed by gold reserves.
Right.
MicroStrategy is issuing stock.
Oui.
Backed by Bitcoin reserves.
Yeah.
If Bitcoin were to become a global reserve currency, and that's a big if, they'd be in an incredibly powerful position.
Wow. That's a lot to process.
Yeah.
But let's not get carried away just yet.
Yeah, take a deep breath.
This whole thing could come crashing down, right?
Oh, absolutely.
We need to talk about the risks.
Yeah.
And there are some big ones.
There are some big ones.
Okay, hit me with the worst case scenario. What could go wrong here?
Well, the two biggest risks are, one, what happens if Bitcoin crashes, and two, what happens if capital markets lose faith in the whole idea?
Okay, so Bitcoin crash, I mean, that's the obvious one, right?
Yeah, I mean,
If their whole portfolio is basically Bitcoin?
right. A huge chunk of MicroStrategy's value is tied directly to their Bitcoin holdings.
So if Bitcoin tanks, they tank.
Yeah, pretty much.
Simple as that.
And remember how volatile Bitcoin can be?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, back in 2021, it went from an all-time high of nearly $69,000 down to around $15,500 in just a few months.
That's...
Imagine what a drop like that
Yeah.
would do to MicroStrategy's balance sheet.
That would be catastrophic. Yeah. Okay, so Bitcoin crashing, that's one risk.
That's a big one, yeah.
What's the other one? What's the other big risk?
The other big risk is if the capital markets, the people lending them money, lose faith.
Okay.
Right now, they need to keep borrowing
Right.
to buy more Bitcoin
To keep the
keep the whole thing going.
Ponzi scheme going.
Well, not necessarily a Ponzi scheme, but you know, to keep the cycle going.
The cycle going.
So if investors get spooked
Yeah.
and they're like, "Wait a minute, this is getting too risky.
Yeah, this is crazy.
This is nuts."
Yeah.
Those loans dry up.
And then they can't buy more Bitcoin.
Exactly.
And they might be forced to sell some of their Bitcoin.
Oh, to cover their debts.
To cover their debts, yeah.
And that would make the price go down even more.
And that kind of selling pressure
Yeah.
could cause the price of Bitcoin to drop even further,
So it's like a bot.
creating a
It's
vicious
downward spiral.
downward spiral. Exactly. So it's not just about Bitcoin's price.
No.
It's also about investor confidence
It's
in MicroStrategy's ability to keep this whole thing running.
in their ability to keep the show going, yeah.
If investors lose faith, they're in trouble.
They're in big trouble.
Okay, but here's my question.
Yeah.
If those risks are so obvious, why are big institutions still lending MicroStrategy billions of dollars?
That's a great question.
These aren't like, dummies.
No. These are sophisticated investors.
Right.
They know the risks,
They know what they're doing.
but they're also attracted to the potential rewards.
Okay.
And to be honest,
Yeah.
some of them are likely making money regardless of what happens to Bitcoin in the long run.
Okay, explain this to me like I'm 5.
All right, 5-year-old explanation.
How can they make money, even if Bitcoin crashes?
Let's go back to those convertible notes.
Okay.
Remember, they act like options.
Yeah, okay.
Investors can convert them into MicroStrategy stock
Right.
at a set price.
So they're betting that the stock price will go up.
Exactly.
Oh,
But here's the kicker.
okay.
Hedge funds. Those Wall Street titans,
Yeah, the big guys.
they love volatility.
Yeah, okay.
They've got these complex strategies where they can profit from wild price swings,
Okay.
whether the price goes up or down.
So for them, the crazier the market.
The better.
Yeah.
The better.
The more volatility, the more opportunities to make money.
So they can use these convertible notes.
Yeah, they can use the convertible notes.
And this thing called short selling
Short selling, exactly.
to make money off the volatility that MicroStrategy is creating.
Yeah, they're basically playing both sides.
Playing both sides.
All thing.
Wait, but remind me, what is short selling again?
Okay, so short selling,
It's like you're betting against the stock.
it's betting that a stock's price will go down.
Okay.
So you borrow shares,
Right.
sell them at the current price,
Right.
and then hope to buy them back at a lower price.
Right.
Right. To return them
And pocket the difference.
and pocket the
Yeah.
difference. So
Yep.
you're basically profiting
Got it.
from the decline.
So they're using the convertible notes
Yeah,
to profit if the stock goes up
exactly.
and short selling to profit if it goes down. They're
But
playing both sides.
they're hedging their bets.
Wow.
They're not.
Smart.
They're very smart.
Yeah.
And that's why they might not care as much
Right.
about the long-term success
Of Bitcoin.
of Bitcoin or even MicroStrategy.
They're making money off the volatility itself.
The volatility is their friend.
Wow. That's crazy.
It's a different way of thinking about investing, for sure.
But this brings up another puzzle.
Yeah.
If investors can just buy Bitcoin directly,
Right.
why are they paying extra for MicroStrategy stock?
That is a great question.
What's the premium for?
Yeah, why buy MicroStrategy
Why-
when you can just
Get the Bitcoin yourself.
go get the Bitcoin yourself, right?
Yeah. It seems like there's a built-in belief
Okay.
that MicroStrategy,
Or maybe
or maybe Michael Saylor himself,
Yeah.
adds some extra value.
they've got the Midas touch.
Yeah. It's almost like they're saying,
Yeah.
we trust MicroStrategy to manage our Bitcoin better than we can ourselves.
Interesting.
And that trust
Yeah.
commands a premium in the market.
Okay, but that trust could evaporate pretty quickly, right?
Oh, absolutely.
If things start going south,
If things start going south, that trust is gone.
and that's where the death spiral comes into play.
The death spiral scenario.
Imagine
Yeah.
Bitcoin enters a prolonged bear market.
Okay, so the price keeps dropping.
MicroStrategy stock starts tanking.
Investors are panicking.
Yeah, investors are selling off their shares
Hedge funds see an opportunity and they pile on.
with short selling,
You should short sell.
driving the price down even further.
Exactly.
Uh-oh.
MicroStrategy can't raise any more capital
Right.
because no one wants to lend them money.
Yeah, the wells run dry,
They're forced to start selling their Bitcoin holdings
Right.
to cover their massive debts.
which puts even more downward pressure on the price of Bitcoin.
Downward spiral.
And the whole thing just collapses.
The house of cards comes tumbling down.
Wow.
That's the death spiral.
That's a scary thought.
Yeah, it's not a pretty picture.
So we've got these two very different narratives, right?
Right.
MicroStrategy is a brilliant innovator
Visionaries.
or a house of cards waiting to
Evil
crumble.
gamblers, yeah.
Where does all of this leave us?
That's the big question, right?
What does this mean for the average person who's just trying to understand what's happening in the world of money and technology?
Right.
Why should we care?
I think there are a couple of big takeaways here.
Okay.
First, it's a reminder that the financial world
Yeah.
can be a wild
Yeah,
and unpredictable place.
absolutely.
Strategies that seem crazy can work for a while, but there are always risks lurking beneath the surface.
Right. And it's not just about what happens to MicroStrategy.
Yeah.
Their actions have ripple effects.
Throughout the entire Bitcoin market.
And even beyond.
And even beyond, yeah.
It affects all of us.
What they're doing is influencing prices, driving volatility,
Yeah.
and frankly pushing the boundaries of what's considered normal in finance.
Right. Because
They're playing by a different set of rules.
they're doing things that nobody's ever done before.
Exactly.
And
Yep.
no one knows what's going to happen.
It's uncharted territory.
So it's like this whole MicroStrategy thing.
Yeah.
It's not just about them hoarding Bitcoin.
Yeah,
It's bigger than that.
it is. Yeah.
Like their moves are impacting the whole crypto world.
Yeah, the whole landscape.
What they do or don't do
Mm.
could have huge implications for everyone, you know?
Absolutely.
Even if you've never bought a single Satoshi.
Yeah, even if you're like totally outside the
Right.
crypto world.
Yeah, because it affects,
It affects the financial system.
the dollar,
Yeah, it affects everything.
everything.
Yeah.
And it goes back to those hedge funds we were talking about.
Right.
They're not just watching this happen.
They're not passive observers.
They're active participants.
Very active, yeah.
Okay, so remind me again how these hedge funds are playing this
Right.
MicroStrategy Bitcoin game.
So remember, they thrive on volatility.
Yeah, the crazier the better for them.
The wilder the market,
Yeah.
the more chances they have to make money.
Yeah.
And MicroStrategy is adding fuel to that fire.
Right. We talked about short selling.
Right.
But what about this gamma trading?
Oh, yeah.
Gamma trading thing you mentioned.
Gamma trading.
That still sounds like something out of a science fiction movie to me.
It's all about options.
Yeah.
Remember those convertible notes?
Yes.
They give the holder the right to convert them into MicroStrategy stock
Right.
at a specific price.
That's essentially an option.
That's an option, yeah?
So options are basically bets on whether a stock will go up or down.
Yeah. That's a simplified way of putting it.
Right.
Yeah.
And gamma trading is all about profiting from changes in the
In the
rate at which the auction's price moves.
Exactly, yeah.
Relative to
The underlying asset,
which
in this case is MicroStrategy stock,
right.
which is tied to the price of Bitcoin.
So they're not just betting on direction.
No, they're betting on the speed and intensity of the movement.
So they're betting on like how fast it's going to go up or down.
Exactly. It's like predicting not just whether a roller coaster will go up or down, but how steep the drops and climbs will be.
So the more extreme the movements,
The more money they can make.
and MicroStrategy with their massive Bitcoin buys.
Yeah, and they're constant borrowing.
Yeah, they're just
fueling this volatility.
making that roller coaster really wild.
A wild ride.
Yeah. So we've got MicroStrategy betting on Bitcoin,
Right.
hedge funds betting on MicroStrategy,
Right.
everyone holding their breath to see what happens next.
It's like a financial ecosystem.
It's like a financial ecosystem built on a volcano.
I like that analogy.
Yeah,
It's a good one.
but
Yeah.
there's another layer to this
There's always another layer.
that's worth thinking about.
Right.
MicroStrategy is being watched not just by investors
Right.
and hedge funds.
But by governments,
Oh.
central banks around the world.
No, why would they care?
That's a great question.
Like, isn't this just a bunch of
yeah.
rich guys playing games with funny money?
So it's not just funny money anymore.
Okay.
What MicroStrategy is doing,
Okay.
whether intentionally or not,
Yeah.
is challenging the traditional financial system.
Okay.
Their infinite money glitch idea, their attempt to create a Bitcoin standard,
Yeah.
it's all a direct threat to the power of central banks.
So you're saying like central banks,
Yeah.
those folks who,
The folks who control the money supply?
yeah, they might actually see MicroStrategy as a threat.
Yeah.
Why would that be?
Because if MicroStrategy succeeds,
Uh-huh.
if they really can create a self-sustaining system backed by Bitcoin,
Okay.
it could undermine the entire concept of fiat currency.
Wow.
And that's a big deal.
Yeah, that's a huge deal.
And it's something that those in power are definitely paying attention to.
So MicroStrategy is not just playing with Bitcoin.
No,
They're playing with fire.
they're playing with fire. Yeah.
All right, well.
But whether they succeed or fail,
Yeah?
their story is a fascinating case study in the power of innovation.
Right.
The allure of speculation and
Yeah.
the inherent risks of disrupting the established order.
It makes you wonder what the future of finance will look like.
Right.
Will we all be using Bitcoin one day, or will this whole thing go down in flames?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah?
And frankly, I don't have a crystal ball.
Right.
But what I do know is this. MicroStrategy's story is a reminder that we live in a world where the lines between technology, finance, and even geopolitics are becoming increasingly blurred.
It's all connected.
It's all connected, yeah.
And it's not just a spectator sport.
No.
What happens with Bitcoin,
Right.
with MicroStrategy.
With these hedge funds.
Yeah.
It all has the potential to impact our lives in very real ways.
Absolutely. It's like a real wake-up call
Yeah.
to
pay attention,
yeah.
to ask questions,
educate ourselves.
and to educate ourselves about these emerging trends.
It's like, I don't know about you, but I'm suddenly feeling the urge to brush up on my economics.
Me too. This stuff is complex, but it's also incredibly important.
Yeah.
The more we understand about how the world of money works,
Right.
the better equipped we'll be to navigate the future.
All right. Well, before we all run off to invest in Bitcoin or become hedge fund managers.
Right.
Let's wrap up this deep dive with a final thought.
Okay.
The future of finance is being written right now.
As we speak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's an exciting, confusing, and potentially revolutionary time to be alive.
It really is.
Absolutely.
And whether you're a seasoned investor or just starting to learn about this stuff,
Yeah?
keep an eye on MicroStrategy.
They're the ones to watch.
They might be a canary in the coal mine,
Yeah.
or they might be the ones leading the charge into a brave new world.
Well said. And that, my friends, is the bottom of our deep dive into MicroStrategy and Bitcoin.
I hope you enjoyed the ride.
For links to all the sources we used,
Yeah, check out the show notes.
check out the show notes.
Yeah.
Until next time,
Stay curious.
stay curious.